Ladies and gentlemen, are Sex Bob-Omb, dang, dang, ding, ding, Scott Pilgrim, are they slop or not? We're going to figure it out. How are we going to figure it out? We're going to figure out what first slop is. We're going to define it. Second, how to detect it. And then third, we're going to go over how much of Scott Pilgrim, Sex Bob-Omb's music is slop or not. And then finally, if they're talented either way. And then we're going to look at if you are going to think they're slop or not, you and other people. So let's, without further ado, get into it, right? Oh, one moment. I've got to touch the camera. Touching the camera. Done. Okay, so music matrix, what is slop? We have energy from 0 to 11 here, and 0 to 10 we have catchiness here, right? So if something's less than a 7 in terms of catchiness, it gets called slop by people who are not fans of that genre, but in general, people would call it slop. Even fans might call it slop, right? Especially if it's really not catchy. Then even the fans are like, okay, this is just bad music, right? If something is catchy, then if it's higher energy or intensity, use whatever word you prefer, it gets called rock. And if it's lower intensity, but really memorable, catchy, or iconic, right, then it gets called pop. Right, so that's kind of what happens. People either call things rock, pop, or slop, and then fans of the genre might be like, actually, it's indie Greco. Oh, Greco is like, who cares? So energy is easy to figure out for a particular song. We can figure out pretty easily where it goes on the music matrix, slop or otherwise. And energy is the easy part, because energy, from 0 to 3, it's kind of music that makes people want to go to sleep, chill out, wind down at the end of the night. 3 to 7 is where people are like, I want to dance, I want to groove. I got a girlfriend, Talking Heads kind of thing. And then 7 to 11 is where it gets into mosh pit fighting. So that's kind of easy to figure out. But catchiness, this is a little bit harder to pin down. So we know what slop is, less than 7 in terms of catchiness, but how do we detect it? Well, good thing we have a handy-dandy chart to give us a good idea for catchiness. Now, catchiness has a lot of things that go into it, but we don't need to figure out every single thing and have the exact decimal point catchiness. We just need to get a rough idea. And that gives us enough of a gist that we can actually come up to some pretty solid conclusions without having 100% resolution on exactly how everything lines up perfectly. You don't need that to make, pretty solid conclusions. So in the case of Sex Bob-Omb, I'll make this kind of quick. We have predictability down here. This is the thing that gives us the biggest idea of how good or otherwise a song is. It does not mean if it is in this money zone of predictability here between being balanced. So predictability, if something's completely unpredictable and incoherent, it just isn't even a song. It's just garbage, right? It's clearly slop. And if something's completely, corny and predictable, there's nothing interesting, it's completely boring, it's also slop, right? Now, if something is a balance of something completely awful and uninteresting and something that's also completely unawful and uninteresting, it can, on average, be in the money zone, but still be awful and uninteresting. It can still be slop. But if you have, a really cool guitar thing that's interesting, that's really unique, and then a vocal thing that's really boring or just predictable. Maybe it's not boring. Maybe it's just predictable, right? They can come together and actually be something that's either just for fans or something that's for everyone. So you've got hit quality songs up here. You can get to a hit quality song in the money zone. Meanwhile, out here, if you're completely extreme either way, it's unlikely you will. Okay, so that's just a little quick explanation. Now let's get into Sex Bob-Omb, right? So here's the thing. Normally, you would look at the catalog and you would say, okay, how much of the catalog is good, how much of the catalog is bad? This is the relative ratio, not the total amount. For example of that, David Bowie's down here in the less than 50-50, which is not a good, is a ratio of mostly slop in the catalog. If most of your catalog is slop, well, then some people might say, oh, well, they're bad. But other people then go, oh, no, they're good because the top 20 songs are incredible, even though they have 20,000 songs that are awful, right? So it's like, how do you balance that, right? Now, we actually kind of have a different situation where it makes it hard to balance it when it comes to Sex Bob-Omb because they're not a real band, and there's only a number of songs that actually they do have under their name, if you go on Spotify, that actually count. I'm not going to count the stuff from, the show that came out a year or two ago that's animated on Netflix. I'm like, no. I mean, like, you got Michael Cera and you got Beck writing the songs, that whole thing, and the whole movie, the actual movie. But I would say the catalog is mostly stuff that's like good. Because here's the thing, really, there's 6 individual songs we're actually talking about, right? If you're talking about the catalog, and those songs they're all either in like the low hit range or in the B-side spot. So technically, it looks like this, but the amount is like 4 songs, 2 songs. So it's like it's 6 songs. You can't really. So technically, it's a classic catalog where you'd see the Beatles, Metallica, Daft Punk, Rage Against the Machine. But when you make only 6 songs, it's really easy to actually be there. So now we actually want to take a look at other stuff that's going to make people, since they're low on songs, what is the other stuff going on, right? So this is going to help us know if people are going to say that Sex Bob-Omb or Slop or otherwise, right? Because there's people who just care about a cool t-shirt, who just care about, like Kim Kardashian walks into Walmart, she goes, "Oh, Metallica, I love that t-shirt brand." Or the Misfits, they're a great t-shirt brand. If that happens, it's like, okay, the people who just care about the brand, they go, "Oh, cool brand, cool thing." Scott Pilgrim has kind of like a distinct brand. But I would say Sex Bob-Omb in particular has good t-shirt, culturally has some cachet, all that kind of stuff. So I would give them a green in that category. If you just care about brand, you're going to be like, okay, there's enough there, right? Musicianship, this isn't really musicianship. It's more if it inspires someone and they go, "Wow, I need to play the instrument." This is like, some people say they heard the first Van Halen record and said, "Wow, I need to learn guitar. That's incredible. I need to learn how to do that right now." Inspired. Some bands make people like want to pick up like the song Hysteria by Muse. I know a lot of bassists go, "Wow, I love that." That made me go like, "I need to learn bass." So likewise, this kind of did that for me. I was like, damn, that's what I need to do. I need to do that thing. And so I would kind of give it a green, but that's almost more on the songwriting, but also the style element, which might go over here more songwriting. I think songwriting is green because they have a classic catalog, right? They mostly did really good songwriting in songs. So if you just care about songwriting, you're going to like Sex Bob-Omb. If you just care about virtuoso musicianship, probably not. Maybe you give it a red, right? Or I would give it a yellow. And if you just care about the branding, you might give it a green or a yellow. But overall, mostly medium. It isn't like green, red. You know what I mean? So now how do we actually look at this and what are people going to say? We have to look at the individual songs and we're just going to look at the average. Actually, with this, since there's only 6 songs, it's really easy. We can actually point to each one of the chart. So, okay, basically, because of this, the controversy is going to be low because the catalog's good. You're either going to like the style or not like the style. And if you don't, you can't say it's not catchy. Well, I guess you could, but then you're being disingenuous. Here are my top songs. I got Garbage Truck, Threshold, We Are Sex Bob-Omb, Summertime, Indefatigable, No Fun. These are kind of like things that are on the expanded deluxe edition of the soundtrack. And then, low controversy, but they're at a 7.3 in terms of energy and a 7.5 in terms of catchiness. So if we look here, this is the average, right? Punky-ish energy, right? That makes sense. And then you go over, it's punk, but also it's catchy, so it gets called rock. But it's just barely catchy enough. And that's kind of the idea, I think, of the movie and what they kind of intended is that they're kind of catchy enough, punky rock band, but they're not like incredible, like the world's greatest ever. Like, oh my God, everyone's gonna sign them right now. It's like they're good and they can make it and they could really make something really good happen here, but they haven't had it happen yet and they haven't made it happen yet. All their songs are at least like kind of good, right? Except maybe Summertime's okay. I give it a 6 in terms of catchiness, but it's like everything's like here and kind of center of mass is right here, or at least the average is there, and so that's kind of interesting. But good catalog, good things like that. So I think most people are going to say, they're like punk plus rock. When you go over the line, you can add, right? They might say like indie punk because it's kind of close here, 6 point, whatever. Kind of like indie punk rock. And it's kind of poppy, kind of catchy. It's not like Black Flag, where it's like... So as punk goes, it's not, it's catchier, but definitely not like pop punk. Like low energy, and I think people are going to say it's rock. And if you like this video, like the video, comment, subscribe. The next video I'm talking about the Smiths, are the Smiths slop or not? And I think the answer to that one's probably going to be no. They're not slop, but what are they? And what are people going to say, and why are they going to agree and disagree? And so that's going to be fun. I'm going to go see you in the next video. Please like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you later.